bonus. This is about architecture. So in class today, we looked at a lot of sculpture, and it's not that the Hellenistic world is only about sculpture, it's just that they're so amazing, they get all the attention. But architecture gets just as dramatic and just as insane. You want to see some? Okay, check this out. Now, here are three images of the Temple of Artemis Ephesus. Now, the temple was dedicated to a version of Artemis. Artemis is the Greek goddess of hunting. She is also celebrated as a virginal goddess. She is a daughter of Zeus. She is the twin sister of Apollo. She's the goddess of the hunt. She's the goddess of wild animals, and she's the goddess of fertility. The version of her that is celebrated at Ephesus is her fertility, and images of Artemis from Ephesus show her to be wearing a cloak of eggs. So you see this bunch here. People often misunderstand or misread this image to be like a series of breasts, like she's milking or being milked. But no. These are eggs. And she herself is a goddess of fertility. So we have fertility, eggs, and hunting, and protection of the wild animals. Her temple at Ephesus was one of the seven wonders of the world. And the way that people describe it, it had this large rise where the staircase went up, and then check out in this map here the amount of columns. It was a double row of columns, so a double peristyle colonnade. And then we have our naos, the statue of Artemis Ephesus was in the back, and then we have this massive pronaos and epinaos that include these columns. The columns were 60 feet high, and the amount of treasures that were left in front of or with the treasury of Artemis Ephesus, historians, they just talked on and on about it. I don't know why I chose to put the image behind Artemis, so here, hold on. Oops. The temple itself had a Ionic order, so the pediments were decorated with scenes from Amazonian mythology. There was a story of the Amazons, who were a mighty race of women hunters, and so the myths of the Amazons played across the pediments. And then the frieze was, here's another one. Oops. The frieze mentioned, or people discuss the frieze as having scenes from the life of the Amazonians and Heracles, who fell in love with one of the Amazonians. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Here, let me just, oops, close this one, and then let me show you another one of my favorite Hellenistic temples, and it's just insane. Okay, here it is. This is the temple of Apollo at Didyma. Now, the architects for this Hellenistic structure are, oh goodness, how do I say his name? Paioneus of Ephesus and Daphnis of Miletos. And the two of them constructed this temple to the god Apollo, Artemis's twin brother. Now, Apollo takes on a lot of different roles. He's the god of the arts, the silver bow, and sometimes he takes on the role as a sun god, like Helios. Now, like Helios, he will often be seen riding the chariot of the sun across the sky. So again, this isn't seen as a bad thing that he's getting mixed up with all of these. Instead, these are all attributes or characteristics of the god. And here at the Temple of Apollo, we are seeing the celebration of him as a sun god, but more importantly, as an oracle. So Apollo was also a god who would, through a priestess, voice prophecies. And the temple here at Didyma was the site of this oracle. And this temple oracle was second only to the famous oracle of Apollo at Delphi. Oh, okay, hold on. If you want to talk more about oracles and prophecies and Apollo, email me. I love this stuff. So here, this site is a place where people would come to seek guidance from Apollo, to seek their favor. And at this site, it is said that Alexander the Great came to the previous temple of Apollo. And after this Hellenistic temple was built at the site, Roman emperors would come or would send delegates to the temple of Apollo at Didyma for some kind of, like I said, guidance or favor from Apollo. In fact, it was the Roman Emperor Diocletian who was given a prophecy that he interpreted and performed as what is called the Great Persecution of the Christians. And we'll get into that later in this semester. We'll look at what Diocletian did. We'll look at we'll look at saints who were killed during the Great Persecution. And I just want to bring it all back to remind you that the Roman Emperor Diocletian came here to Didyma to get the prophecy from the oracle of Apollo that he then interpreted as the Great Persecution of the Christians. I know. Okay, so the reason I love this temple isn't because of the Great Persecution. It's because of the architecture. It had this massive, dense peristyle, and the approach through the pronaos of the delegate. Now, okay, here at Apollo, it wasn't just the priests and priestess who were allowed in. The delegate could come in, but you would come in, obviously, either side would be guards. It's not like you could just walk up and stroll on in. So there would be guards on either side. You'd come into this space, and there would be an interior room that was pitch black. On either side were two switchback staircases that went down. So you would be guided down in this pitch black, down the switchback staircase. Here, let me just, here. Didyma is right here off of the Anatolian Peninsula. Anatolian, Antinius, get it? So let's think about this Hellenistic period. We got Pergamon up here, and now we're down here at Didyma. So this is the ruins as they stand today, but where am I? Here is a reconstruction. So it had this dense rows or forest of columns, and then you would walk into that pitch black space and be led down the switchback staircase. Out of that switchback staircase, you would come into the naos, but the naos was open to the sun, which, I mean, Apollo is a sun god. The roof over the cella, or the naos, was open to the sky, which literally translates to hypotherial. Hypotherial. Now, why is this approach important? Because of the drama of it all. Come on, people. So you come up, there's the guards, there's the pitch black, and then you walk down into, and then think about this. There'd be this blinding light. Your eyes are already used to the dark. And you go down the staircase and you see this white light at the end of this staircase tunnel. And you come out into the blinding sun because the roof is open to the sky. And in the center of the naos is another smaller structure. that smaller structure is where the oracle sits. Where is she? She, it's always a woman. The oracle is sitting in a chamber behind this front porch. Now, you would have your request in your mind. You'd come in by appointment, and then you'd be in this pitch black space, brought down the staircase in the blinding white light of Apollo's sun, and then you'd be led and told to sit in front of the smaller temple and ask your question. The oracle inside would then have some kind of prophecy, which you and usually somebody next to you would then translate for whatever purpose. Like I said, some guidance. Should I go attack these guys? When should I go do it? Kind of stuff like that. But it's so Hellenistic because of the drama of it all, right? You go into this dark space and then it's open big, and oh man, I mean, you could just imagine what it must have been like to walk it down, and then here we are inside. The size, it's in terms of the people, the scale, it's still very big. And then the oracle, the priestess who speaks the voice of Apollo, would be hidden inside of that space. Here's another view of it as it stands today. Pretty cool, right? Okay, thanks for watching this bonus.